Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is your kids here. Uh, with some more Breach the Archangel job. Hopefully, we can get to a certain stopping point today. Unfortunately, the next I'll be on, I think, every day, but I think it'll be, I don't know, not as long as I hope for. Unfortunately, god damn it. Okay, I think we're back on track. Okay, either way, as I was saying, it's good to see you again. The next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm gonna be a little bit busy. Um, I'd say maybe like hopefully just the next 2 weeks. I'll be a little busy. I have papers due soon-ish. So apologies if the streams aren't as long. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys are doing good. I am doing fine, aside from the impending doom of those multiple papers. Yeah, yeah. I know, I can't think of anything else. Okay. Well, either way, god damn it, not again. Ba-da-da-da-da. Okay, let's start our ba-da-da-da. The internet's going whack, but na. I'll do that eventually. Okay. God, this thing's taking forever. Or man, why is the internet going out of whack today? Okay, no. All right. We'll cross the bridge when we get there eventually. Whenever. Yeah. Are you awake? Is he awake? You sure hope so. I sure as hell hope so. Gabriel's gonna be pissed if he's dead. You hear them, on conversation, and you try your best to open your eyes again, but all you see is gray and red. Everything's blurry and hard to make out. But then your eyes clear out as the blurriness slowly creeps away. It still lingers, but not enough to obscure your vision. You see a bird. No, wait, a plane? Oh, no, wait, it's just a cloud. You wonder why the sky's so gray. Then it hits you. You're running out of blood. Your whole body's numb and you can't feel anything. The color in your vision is fading, and you're pretty much on the edge of dying. Yet, it's so blissful. Oh wow, he's awake, you hear someone say. He won't be for long if we stay here, someone else shouts, and suddenly you hear the muffled sound of gunfire, and you can see traces of the stray bullets flying through your vision. There's a firefight going on. And then you feel it. Your stiff, numb legs being dragged across something rough. The asphalt. You can't move your head at all, but pretty soon, whoever's dragging you decides to set you down, leaning against the side of a car in the middle of the street. Look around as your numb neck is rested against the door of the car. You can see, all around you, cars, vans, and pickup trucks forming a circle around you in the middle of a crossroad. Taking cover behind the vehicles are the familiar uniforms of the Archangels. Some wearing only shirts and ties, others wearing black vests. These are the angels and the associates of the Archangels. The angels are here, along with the crew of the associates. They've come to you. They're not about to let you die alone. You smile a little inside, knowing the Archangels are looking out for you and your crew. You see a familiar face. Archer with a bow and arrow, wearing her full body armor with a white shirt and blue-gray tie beneath, shooting over the counter of a pickup truck with her compound bow, followed by a painful scream from afar, out of view. We need to get the wounded into Missouri's van, Archer shouts, commanding her fair share of associates who are carrying pistols and submachine guns. I don't think we'll all fit in my van, you hear a reply from the other side. It's Violet, or as you've learned to call her, by her call sign, Rizuri. We don't all have to fit into your van, just the wounded. You hear another familiar voice. This time it's one of your crew members. Hain, currently taking command of the subordinates in the makeshift circle around you. You look around and see Charlie, wounded but standing and fighting back. You also see Anna, but she's currently on the ground, unconscious, with wounds being tended to by another angel. The one you remember is Violet. Violet looks up at you and says, Hein, your Raphael's awake. Oh, thank God. I thought you were dead, Haynes says as she sighs in relief. You two, get him out of there and into Missouri's van. Charlie, get in there with them. You go. I'll be right behind you, Charlie shouts as he fires his MP5 machine gun blindly at the enemy. You don't know where you are. You don't know what's going on. You feel so weak, as if you could only utter a single sentence. Or question. What do you say? Where's the FBI? You ask through clenched teeth. Okay. We don't know, but we're glad they're not here. You hear one of the two people carrying you reply. You look to your left and right, and you see the two people who were dragging you, and you recognize them as Caesar and Sen. Can you walk? Caesar shouts at you. You don't have to shout, he's right here, Sen says. I know, but he could be deaf from all the fighting, Caesar replies. No, Caesar, that's just you, Sen says as he looks down at you and pulls your arm up over his shoulder. Come on, we need to get out of here. I'll cover you. You escape. You all go on ahead. You hear another angel shout from across the way. This one you can't really forget, as he's the one with the cast on his leg, which he's now using the prop up a machine gun. Mike, Heather, Jeffrey, Christina, you all want to be brave? He shouts to his associates. They all nod and quickly set up a perimeter to provide cover fire as Archer, Violet, and the rest of the angels form up, creating a shield as they pick you up. Anna and a few of their own, wounded, and drag you all the way to the van. Caesar and Sana and Sen gently pull you up into the back of the van. It's alright, you're gonna be fine. We're taking you to Greg's glorious goods. Gabriel said he'll meet us. Just then, a bullet hits Sen in the left shoulder. Ah, damn! I'm shot! He shouts, then he climbs into the back of the van with you, turns around and opens fire with his M4A1 rifle. The hot brass shells bounce around inside the van, hitting you a little. You know you should be feeling some heat from the smoking hot shells touching your skin, but you feel nothing but numbness. Caesar closes the door as Sen finishes firing, and Violet and Archer finish loading the other wounded into the back of the van. And the last sights you see before the doors are closed is the angels and archangels working together to push away wave after wave of outfit soldiers rushing down the road across from you. The doors finally close and the two slamming thuds against the side, and you hear the driver door open and close. Then Missouri says, "Alright, hold on then." Half of us are unconscious. How do you think they're gonna hold on? Sen asks, looking around. You and your whole crew in the back of the van with you. I don't know. Just hold on to them or something, she shouts as the gunfire intensifies and bullets fly through the walls of the cabin. Missouri quickly steps on the grass and the van leaps forward. The back door of the van springs open again from the inertia, and you see Jim and his associates providing cover, while Archer, Violet, and Caesar get into their respective vehicles and drive away. The inertia of acceleration continues, and your limp body slowly slides back out of the open back of the van. Ah, shit, you're gonna fall out. But then, a hand grabs onto you and pulls you back in. Two hands, in fact. It's Sen and Tatiana's, trying their best to pull you and another wounded, unconscious body back into the van as Aaron climbs past the two of them from the front and closes the door. All this time, Hannah's been shooting out of the back of the van to prevent anyone from taking shots at you. We need to get to the church fast, you hear Haynes shout to the driver. Wait. Oh no, you're being taken to the church. They don't know that Greg's already been taken by the outfit. You have to say something. Greg's dead. But before you finish your sentence, the van is rocked as something impacts it from the side. Sen holds onto you as the back of Haynes' head slams into the cabin wall. She grunts in pain, then shouts in anger and frustration. I'm gonna teach them not to screw with us. She grabs her rifle and pulls open the side door, revealing a view of a lone outfit soldier riding a motorcycle and carrying a MAC-10 submachine gun. You see the look of surprise on her face as Haynes raises her rifle and meets her gaze. She fires a couple of rounds, missing her as she swerves away from the van. Oh, no you don't! Haynes fires a few more rounds and you see sparks flying from the motorcycle's fuel tank. And suddenly, a huge cacophonous, yeah, I think that's right, explosion erupts as the tank explodes, lighting the soldier on fire and sending her flying off the bike and out of sight. You catch a glimpse of an old man running away from his vegetable stand. Then you hear a loud crash, followed by a horrified shout, "My cabbages!" The incident may have knocked a few of your bones loose, as you suddenly feel the gravity around you strengthening, pulling you down into a deep sleep. You try to keep yourself awake, clinging on to whatever thoughts you might have, but you feel the weight of the world dragging you under, the peaceful silence creeping in, the coldness, the peace and quiet. You fall unconscious once more. Chapter 4, Part 2. The Archangel Strike Back. Oh no, we're not finished yet. Michael. Sometime later, the sounds of gunfire has died down. Not sure if everything's now peaceful or you're just far away from the violence. Either way, the peaceful silence greets you warmly as you try to open your eyes. Your eyelids part and rays of light cross through your vision. You look up and see ceiling fans passing by, one after another. A familiar ceiling, though unfamiliarity littered with cracks and bullet holes. You look to your side, and you see the familiar walls of an underground shop, also cracked with bullet holes and splatters of blood. You see them passing by, and you realize that you're on a stretcher. You look above you and you see a familiar short man. No, wait, a woman. She turns around and you see the iconic dark gray hockey mask with purple whiskers glance at you as she carries the front of the stretcher. Raquel. You look in front of you and see the familiar face of a woman in her mid-20s wearing a nun outfit. Very tattered and bloody nun outfit. It's Tracy, one of Greg's assistants. She has a solemn look on her face as she carries the back of the stretcher. You look around inside the room you're being carried through, and you see the aftermath of an intense firefight. There are a few dead bodies being laid out on the side of Greg's office, all of them in clerical clothing. You also see a bunch of dead bodies scattered by the entrance. They appeared to be from the outfit. There seems to have been quite a fight going on. Thankfully, it's died down. Literally. But not everyone survived. Some of Greg's workers have lost their lives, along with a handful of the angels. Many of Greg's workers are being tended to by others. Some of them you recognize as angels and associates of the archangels. You see that everyone has sustained a lot of energies. Hell, you have quite the wound. You yourself have quite the wound. Come to think of it, your vision's blurred again, and you can't tell if it's the loss of blood or the fact that you're so tired. Either way, you fall unconscious again. A few moments later, your vision comes back, and this time, you're able to move a bit more. Seems like you're regaining your energy. You look around and see the bland, gray concrete walls around you. They look familiar. You're somewhere in Greg's underground shop. You feel something rubbing against your leg. You look down and see that Blue Star's currently purring as she rubs against your leg, nuzzling you, slowly making her way to your hand for you to pet her. You feel her soft fur rubbing against your fingers as she nuzzles into your hand. You try to move and you realize that you're currently in a hospital bed of some sort. You try to raise your head and you see there's a line of fluid injected into you. It's not blood, it's not saline, But whatever it is, it's the same color as the liquid that Raquel injected into Gabriel when his heart stopped. Whatever it is, you feel rather vigorous. Still in extreme pain, but vigorous. You open your mouth to call for anyone around you, but then something catches your eyes. You see medical equipment and cabinets all around the room, along with two empty medical bags that you didn't notice before. This appears to be a medical room of some sort. Remember Greg telling you some criminals come here to be treated when they can't go to a local hospital? However, you're not alone. Someone is sleeping on the couch. He doesn't even appear to notice you waking up. However, as he rolls over, you can now see that it's a she, with a familiar dark gray hockey mask with purple whiskers. She's curled up into a ball on the couch as she sleeps. Can't tell if she's really sleeping or not because of her mask eye sockets are protected by panes of red tinted glass. Unlike Gabriel and Michael's, which have black panes, though Gabriel sometimes has transparent ones. You wonder how many masks he has, and unlike your own mask, which doesn't even have any glass panes to protect or conceal your eyes, you hear a voice to your left, a familiar one. You're awake. Michael would be pleased. You turn to your left and see the familiar face of Tracy, her submachine gun slung over her shoulder. She looks tired, as if she's been fighting the whole day. Her nun outfit is tattered and bloody, but you don't think any of it's her blood. You hear the familiar voice of Mouse as the door opens and closes. You turn and see Mouse walking in, smiling but also crying. He runs over to your side and grabs your hand. Are you okay? Honestly? Can't feel shit other than pain right now. I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm alright. I sure hope so, he says as he holds your hand. Michael's on his way here. He has something to tell you, Mouse says. A few seconds later, the door opens up again. You half expect to see Michael walk in. But instead you see your crew walking in. They smile when they see you're still breathing. Your whole body's numb, but at least you're alive. Anna and Charlie walk over to you and give you a look of concerned sympathy. But as always, they have those bright smiles that the two of them always seem to bring along. Oh, good, you're awake, Charlie says happily. I love how you state the obvious with such a sense of discovery, Anna says as she wraps her arm around Charlie's shoulder. She looks at you, giving you a concerned smile. I really hope you're okay, though. Jane walks in behind them and smiles at you. Damn, you look like shit. She chuckles with a smirk, then growing concern shows in her face. How are you feeling? You also see Rook and Bishop walk in, and they wave at you and chuckle. Oh, hey! What do you know? He's alive, Rook says. Are you sure? He could just be dead, and the body's just staring at you lifelessly, Bishop jokes. If Gabriel asks, tell him he's alive. Rook chuckles nervously and nods to you. You feel Blue Star slowly clawing her way along your side, trying to get onto your stomach just to lie down and curl up into a ball of fur. You run your fingers against her soft fur and pet her as she purrs on your stomach. Raquel gets up off the couch and walks over to you, taking her hand before leaning down and wrapping her arms around you, hugging you tightly and whimpering quietly before pulling away, purring as she nuzzles your shoulder. Just then the door opens once more, and finally you see Michael with his black mask and golden fleur-de-lis. He looks at you and says, Good, you're awake. Tell me what happened. He walks over to you as everyone pulls away to make a path. You begin to explain what happened, and when you mention that Don Levidenci called you to tell him that he wants to meet you, Michael nods and tells you to take a rest, as he too needs time to prepare for something. Sorry. For what? You don't know, and Michael won't tell. Time flies by fast as most of your crew leave the room, except for Raquel, who sits beside you and holds your hand, also monitoring your vitals while you rest. You can tell that Blue Star still sees Raquel as her true master, but Raquel seems to finally approve of the fact that you've taken her into your care. You soon lose track of time as the clock at the far end of the room rotates faster and faster. One moment it's 1 p.m. You close your eyes and open them again, and it's 4 p.m. This goes on for a while until, finally, you feel the stinging pain come back into your muscles. It hurts, but it's good to know that you're no longer numb. You wake up and Raquel checks you over to make sure you won't fall down. Then she takes you outside. You leave Blue Star with a bowl of milk before you make your way out of the room. And when you get outside, you find that the carnage that was here before has been somewhat cleaned up. The dead bodies are gone and most of the blood's been wiped away. How long were you asleep for? As Raquel walks you past the wreckage that was Greg's Flat Market shop, Mouse comes up to you and asks, "Hi, how are you feeling?" "Honestly, your body feels like it's wrapped in pain. Your muscles ache, but you've regained your energy. Well, most of it at least. Good enough to walk." "How long was I out for?" you ask. Day or two," Mouse says. You stop in your tracks, realizing how long it's been. No wonder everyone was so worried about you. You must have had a horrible concussion. But you guess you're lucky to be alive. "Good to see you up and running. Well, walking at least." You hear the familiar voice of Tracy, one of Greg's assistants. As she walks up behind you, she's carrying an ammo box somewhere. Looking around, the place is still a mess, but compared to last time, it's quite tidy, without all the blood and dead bodies. What happened here? You ask. "The outfit happened. They came and tried to kill everyone. We managed to push them back, but—" She stops to look at the bloodstains that litter the place. "They took Greg. Butch tried to stop them. He's with God now." Tracy sighs and tears begin to form at the edge of her eyes. "I'm sorry," you say, putting your hand on her shoulder. She looks at you with a smile. "Thank you," she says, nodding in gratitude. "I don't know where they could have taken Greg, but Michael says that Gabriel would know," Tracy says as everyone arrives at where Greg's office usually would be. "Well, Gabriel's still missing," Mouse sighs. "Michael's still trying to get into contact with him. He says he has something, but in the meantime he's telling everyone to stand by." He gestures to Greg's office. Look and see there are a few people hanging around the front of Greg's office. Most of them are comprised of whatever's left of Greg's workers in their clerical clothing, working to organize whatever's left of Greg's stock while he's gone. However, you also see your crew among them. Anna and Charlie, together as usual, are chatting by the office. Anna's standing in front of a workbench, fixing her LA-85 A2 rifle, as Charlie sits on the couch beside her, talking to her as she works on her rifle, while also reading a comic book. You also see Hayne by the armory, currently sitting at a table and cleaning her Diamaco C7A2 as usual, with a bottle of whiskey by her side. She appears to be guarding a few duffel bags and backpacks that you recognize as belonging to your crew members. Your crew has apparently been here for a while. Rook and Bishop are playing chess by the barracks. However, upon closer inspection, they're not playing chess at all. They're moving pieces of food. Everything from tiny tacos to McDonald's to pizza toppings, as if they're chess pieces. You see that the pepperoni from the pizza is being used as pawns, while pieces of fried chicken are the rook and knights. A very tiny beef taco standing upward is being used as a king, while some french fries have been tied together with a piece of string and used as a queen. Tracy looks to you and says, "Michael and I will be in office if you need me." She goes off and enters Greg's office, leaving you with Mouse. Mouse looks at you and shrugs. "I guess we're waiting for Michael. What else would you like to do?" "Go watch Rook and Bishop's game. I want to see food chess." Chess? chess. Walk up to them, and Mouse asks why they're playing with food. Rook replies without looking away from the board. Well, they had a chessboard, but no pieces. We decided to order some food and use that instead. Thought, and we ate the pieces when we tucked them in game, Bishop says as he moves his bishop and then eats Rook's rook, taking the bits of fried chicken lumped together to look like a castle and scarfing it down. Chuck, he says through the mouthful of chicken. Damn it! Rook sighs, trying to figure out how to get a handle of the situation. What happened after the crash? What crash? Bishop says. They crashed on the way over here. That's why he was in the medical bay the whole day yesterday. Oh well, I'm sorry to hear that, but we didn't have any problems at all. We got here just in time to help clean up after the firefight, Bishop says. Yeah, it was pretty messy. Dead bodies everywhere. Blood spattered all over. Pretty gruesome scene to walk into, Rook says with a sigh. Free ammo, though, Bishop says. Alright, there was that. We picked up any ammo we found on the dead bodies, so at least there's that. Rook smirks, tapping the magazine on his AR-15, which is laying beside him on the bench. What's everyone been doing since the crash? Eating, Bishop says. Also eating, Rook says. I took a shower a few hours ago, but that's about it. Things have been pretty boring around here, Bishop says. There's a shower here? Rook asks. One of the fire sprinklers by the back room broke. Some people put a canvas wall up and made it into a makeshift shower, Bishop explains. Oh, Rook nods. Any news from Gabriel? None so far, Rook says. Didn't Michael say he was going to try and contact them? Bishop asks. Yep, and he's still trying to, Rook replies. $50 says he's dead. Bishop offers. Canadian or US dollars? Rook asks. Singaporean, Bishop replies sarcastically. What do you think? You do know our emergency offshore account uses Canadian dollars, right? Rook says. We have an offshore account? Bishop says. Yeah, I asked Gabriel's sister to set me up with one for last week, remember? Rook says. No. Bishop replies. Any news from the Angels and the Associates? The what? Bishop asks. Gabriel's gang of newbie misfits and people who owe him favors. Didn't you hear the news? The cops are going apeshit. Robberies all around Chicago, all done by the same group in the same uniform, 24/7 not stop, Rook says. Oh, them. Yeah, they've sure been busy, Bishop says. I don't know Gabriel was capable of planning something that big, Rook chuckles. He's a retired high commander of the most elite group of underground special forces operations on the Earth. I'm not really surprised. Do you believe he's retired? Rook asks. The company said he's technically dead, but here he is now, secretly leading an underground group of criminals, so I don't know what to believe anymore, to be honest, Bishop replies. Also, do you think Gabriel told any of the Archangels about his past career? Rook asks. Probably not. Bishop pauses. If you found out you ran your mouth, you're dead. Rook chuckles. Having trouble, Rook? Nope. Rook says, moving one of his pieces up to meet Bishop's, taking his rook. Bishop replies strategically, heading for checkmate. You can tell that Rook isn't taking this seriously. Instead of going for the king, he's basically eating all the delicious chess pieces, except for the king. Bishop taps the table and says, checkmate. Congrats, you won, Rook says through a mouthful of french fries, pizza, and chicken. You can tell he doesn't really care about winning, he just wants to eat the pieces. Bishop looks down at his last remaining king and knight. God damn it, he says. He suddenly realized that Rick was only keeping his king alive long enough to eat all of Bishop's pieces. Go back. Go to Anna and Charlie. Walk up to Anna and Charlie by the workbench and overhear their conversation as you approach. I mean, I told you to get a new rifle, Charlie says as his sister takes apart a rifle. That thing is so old and outdated. Might as well use a flintlock. He continues reading his comic. Well, this rifle is a gift from my dad. I'm not giving up on this rifle. It never gave up on me, Anna says as she begins pulling the bolt assembly out of her rifle. I find it funny that our dad gave you a rifle, but didn't leave me anything, Charlie says. As you get closer, you can see the name of the comic he's reading. Soup Man. The cover shows a generic superhero with his underwear on the outside, holding a bowl of soup. Well, maybe he shouldn't have crashed his car, Anna replies as she takes a flashlight from the workbench and inspects the inner compartment of her rifle. Good point. He was a tad bit mental about it. Charlie buries himself back in his comic as his sister continues to try and fix her rifle. What happened after the crash? Well, Charlie answers first. The last thing I remember before I woke up in the police cruiser was bright lights and horns honking, he says. He and Nana had already woken up before me, but Anna was bleeding badly. It was a bit of a scary sight, Charlie says, staring off into the distance, mouth slightly open. Anna stops and looks over at her brother, smiling and growing concerned, before she looks at you and explains. I'm not quite used to waking up with a giant gash over my stomach and bruised all over. When I came to, Hein was already awake. She helped stabilize me before I passed out from blood loss. She pauses. That's when we saw the outfit coming in. I honestly thought we were done for, Charlie says, looking off into the distance. Hein told me to keep low, and that's when the angels arrived. The Archangels, the associates pulled us out while the angels kept the outfit at bay. Hein told me to watch over Anna, but I wasn't going to miss out on the fun. I picked up my machine gun and started firing. He smiles. And that's when you woke up. So you pretty much know the rest. Anna looks away and continues her work. What's everyone been doing since the crash? Well, Charlie puts up a finger. We were told to wait for you while Michael went and tried to contact Gabriel. So I've been occupying myself looking around the place. And I found some incredible vehicles. Did you know that Greg owns a tank? Charlie asks excitedly. It's an IPC, Anna corrects him. I mean, yeah, sure, but it's still pretty cool. Charlie jumps in his seat in excitement. In any case, I've been busy gathering supplies, mostly ammo and food, since Michael said we're going to be here for a while. Hayne was kind enough to go to our safe houses and retrieve our clothes. Since then, I've been trying to fix this goddamn rifle. A crash must have dinged it, Anna says. Any news from Gabriel? Not yet. Not yet. Michael's working on trying to contact him. Don't know what he's up to, but he told us to wait for him. So that's what I'm doing, Anna says. It was pretty cool, though, watching Gabriel take out all those SWAT team members single-handedly. And to think he was heavily wounded at the time. I wish he could teach me some of those things. Charlie chuckles in excitement. Any news from the Angels or the Associates? One of the Angels' crew is down, as in they lost so much they can't continue. Oh, whoops, wrong person. One of the Angels' crew is down, as in they lost so much they can't continue. Michael told them to disperse. The rest, however, are badly wounded, but alive. Most of them are scattered now, healing and recovering. The outfit managed to capture one of the Angels, though. What was his name? The one with the leg and the cast who stayed behind. Anna asks. Jim. Yeah, bloody damn hero he was. Charlie says. Yeah, if it weren't for him and his crew, the outfit would have gotten to us, Anna says. Do you need help with that, Anna? You ask. She looks over at you and pauses. No, but thank you. No offense, but I don't think you'd know what she'd be doing. She chuckles before going back to work on her rifle, ignoring you. Alright, go back and go with Hane. Oh, man. Sorry, just stretching. Wait a second. How much of that did you guys not hear? Oh god, please don't tell me. Sorry, give me a sec. Okay, never mind. Seems like we're all on the same page here. Nothing appears to be entirely uh out of order. It didn't cut me off. Okay. Walk up to Hannah. She cleans her rifle, which is a familiar sight. She glances at you for a moment before picking back her work, picking before focusing back on her work. Picking up a brush to clean it with, she greets you with her trademark smile. Welcome back to the land of the living, kits, she says. It's good to see you out and about, she adds, her Canadian accent peeking out at the end. Hello, Hein. Mouse waves at her, and the two of you approach. Hi, Mouse, Anna says casually as she focuses on cleaning her rifle. Thanks for fixing my pistol before, Mouse says with a grateful smile. No problem. Just don't smash it against the window of the police cruiser next time, Haynes says with a smirk and a joking tone. I couldn't exactly control it when we crashed. He scratches the back of his head and giggles nervously. I know. I know. I'm just joking, dear, Haynes says, prompting a sigh of relief from Mouse. Haynes pushes a swab of cloth through the barrel of her rifle with a metal rod. Comes out the other side covered in soot and dirt from the gunshot residue. What happened after the crash? Ugh. Well, long story short, I woke up first, I saw you upside down, tied to your seat, unconscious, so I tried to cut you loose. But then I realized we were being surrounded by the outfit, and then Anna woke up. She looks over to her. She was bleeding badly in her seat and at the time, so I tried my best to stabilize her. That's when Charlie woke up. When the outfit closed in on us, I thought we were done for, but thankfully the angels came along and rescued us. Jim and his team stayed behind to keep them at bay while the rest scattered and made their way over here. I think you're awake for that, right? She asks. You nod, vividly remembering the time your limp body was being dragged across the road. What's everyone been doing since the crash? Well, I just got home from a solo mission, going to both Anna and Charlie's safe houses, along with yours and Mike Mouse's. I brought you your spare clothes, along with your gear. Michael said you're gonna need it, Haynes says, tapping the duffel bag sitting beside her. You realize that two of them, buried beneath the rest, are you and Mouse's duffel bags. Any news from Gabriel? None so far. Michael's working on it, he says. Haynes looks over at Greg's office. Any news from the Angels and the Associates? Not much. They've scattered to try and heal up and do their assignments. I heard some who didn't arrive to help us were already doing their jobs. I just heard the media's going crazy. Mass robberies and vandalism all around Chicago, all perpetrators wearing the same uniform. It's as if we're everywhere, all at once. It's pretty magnificent when you think about it. This is Gabriel's plan, she concludes with a smile. Alright, go back. Play with Blue Star. Walk into the room where you slept and you find Blue Star playing with the shotgun shell. You immediately rush over and take the dangerous ammunition from her. She yells at you for taking away her toy, but then you suddenly see Raquel walking past you out of nowhere, causing you to jump back in surprise. Seems like Raquel has a way of walking around without people noticing or hearing her. She's holding what appears to be a stress ball wrapped in some sort of knitting. She gives Blue Star the ball, and she immediately begins playing with it, clawing at it and biting at it, making it bounce all around the room. Blue Star follows the ball wherever it goes, jumping from place to place. The claw left, right, up, down. It seems Raquel knows how to keep a kitty busy. What else would you like to do? Wait for Michael's our only option. As you wait for Michael, you find yourself leaning against a wall. Then suddenly, the door to Greg's office opens, and out comes Michael, who's on the phone. I'll have someone there in a few minutes. He hangs up before looking over to you and Mouse. Kits, Edwin, suit up. We need to pick up Gabriel from the hospital, he says, putting the phone away and looking to Tracy. Tracy, do you have any medical clothing? Tracy nods and asks, Which hospital? Northwest Memorial. I got some uniforms for them. What kind do you need? Surgical. Names? Dr. Jones and Dr. Free. I'll have it done within half an hour. We don't have many customers right now anyway. Tracy shrugs and sighs before turning to you and Mouse. Please get Gabriel back. He and Michael need to get Greg quickly, she says, and then she rushes off to the other side of the store, where they keep most of the costumes and uniforms. Mouse looks at Michael and says, But Kit's just got out of bed. I don't think we can fight our way through a hospital. You won't be. You'll be posing as two surgeons. Gabriel and I set up your names and schedules to make sure everything runs smoothly. Just wear the outfits and follow the plan, Michael says. What plan? Mouse asks. I'll explain it to you later. Let's go. He gestures for the two of you to follow him. 2 hours later, you find yourself sitting on a cold metal bench in one end of the clean and glistening white hallways of the Northwest Memorial Hospital, with Mouse by your side. The surgical gown you're wearing over your Archangel uniform is rather uncomfortable, but you make do with the medical scrubs as best as you can. The plan goes through your head numerous times as you make your way to the operating room. It was just 2 hours ago when Michael explained it to you. You were brought to the hospital and signed in as a transfer from New York. The plan is simple. While you were on your way... Wait a second. Yeah, never mind. Sorry, I thought I was having a glitch in the Matrix. Deja vu. The plan is simple. While you were on your way to the hospital, Gabriel's already been taken to the operating room, awaiting surgery. Your part is somewhat simpler. To get into the operating room, where all the attending staff have been bribed, and wait for Raquel to come and help you. From there, you'll have to secure a route from the operating room down to the basement parking garage, then have Raquel transfer Gabriel there, where a car driven by Charlie will be waiting. But for now, you're waiting for a call as you try to hide your face, skimming through the many health magazines they have on stand beside the bench. You were supposed to immediately make your way into the operating room, but Gabriel called Michael and told him that there's been a change of plan, and you have to wait a little longer. And so you've been sitting here on a bench for at least an hour, waiting. Suddenly you hear the intercom calling your name. Paging Dr. Jones and Dr. Free to the OR. Paging Dr. Jones and Dr. Free to the OR. Finally, time to get into the operating room, you think to yourself. You and Mouse get up and make your way down the hallway, your shoes squeaking against the clean marble floor. But then you stop. You have no idea which operating room it is. There are a few operating theaters inside the hospital that aren't used for emergencies, but even before you were told that there'd been a change of plan, you were never told which operating room it might be. Perhaps you're supposed to call Michael, or maybe Gabriel, or maybe Raquel. You're not sure. You could try to look for it yourself, or you could go to the receptionist and ask which operating room it is. But then you'll risk them finding out who you really are. Look for the operating room myself. You look on the boards for the list of operating rooms, but you have no idea which one would be yours. So you pick at random. However, you spot your fake name listed by one of the operating rooms at the eastern wing. You and Mouse immediately make your way over there. You enter the east wing and almost immediately run into a whole lot of police. You see officers guarding the hallway and lobby. Try your best to cover your face without attracting too much attention as you make your way to operating room 5 down the hall to the corner. You quickly push through the double door with Mouse right behind you, and as you enter, one of the staff suddenly pulls out a pistol and raises it at you. But then she quickly backs away, lowering it when she realizes who you are. You almost pull out your own pistols before you realize that you know these people. Well, at least half of them. There are a few of them. There are a few of the many associates of the Archangels. You look around the room as the woman who pulled the pistol on you looks over the patient, currently handcuffed to the operating bed, their head covered by a black sack. There are 6 people in the room, not including you, Mouse, and the patient. You only recognize 3 of them as associates. One of them is the woman who pulled the gun on you. However, there's another person at the far corner of the room wearing scrubs, staring at you through the bandages wrapped around his face, with his arms held behind his back. His chest puffs out in an elegant stance. Almost immediately you recognize who it is as he speaks. It's Gabriel. Raphael, good to have you here, you say as he walks forward with a slight limp. You hear the clanking of the braces on his left leg. You also see the edge of the cast around his right arm, which is hidden behind his back. There's been a change of plan, he says. Yeah, we noticed, Mouse says as he walks over to the patient lying on the bed, curiously scanning them. So, who's the patient? You ask. That's Lieutenant Daniel Salzer, the one who led the FBI SWAT team responsible for the attack on the mill, Gabriel says. Why is he here? Mouse asks. Unfortunately for him, he was also wounded in the attack, Gabriel says. Luckily for us, his room's just a few rooms down the way from mine. You see a smile smirk behind the bandage wrapped around his face. Okay, so what's our new plan? Mouse asks. The new plan is that we have to escort Salazar out of the hospital using the car we already have, Gabriel says. But there's no room in the SUV for that, Mouse says. Don't worry, he'll be in the trunk, Gabriel says. Is he still alive? Mouse asks as he pokes the side of the patient's stomach, prompting a quiet groan from under the sack covering his head. Yes, and barely conscious, Gabriel says when suddenly the door opens behind you. You and Mouse and the other 3 associates in the room with you quickly draw your weapons, and you turn to see Raquel in the doorway, wearing her dark gray hoodie and light blue shirt and cargo pants. She has a surgical mask over her face, and her hoodie with cat ears cover the rest of her head. However, you spend the strands of dark blonde hair straying past her hoodie, and her surgical mask barely covers the freckles around her nose. She comes inside and nonchalantly walks over to the patient, Salazar, as everyone sighs and puts their gun away. She motions to Salazar in a series of gestures that you understand to mean, is he conscious? Yes, barely, Gabriel says. Raquel quickly turns to Salazar and swings an insanely quick right jab to his face. And Salazar quickly falls unconscious. Jesus Christ, Raquel, there's antiseptic right there, Gabriel says in a hushed voice, gesturing to a row of syringes arranged by the bed. Raquel turns around and walks over to the syringes, then grabs them all and puts them in a pouch strapped to her belt, a medical bag that she keeps with her at all times. Gabriel sighs and says, All right, let's get out of here. He nods to everyone else. Thank you for your services. I'll see to it that you're all paid well. Raquel grabs the side rails of the gurney and starts pushing it to the door at the far end of the room, when Gabriel stops her. Exits that way. He points to the door you and Mouse came through, which you recall is full of cops on the other side. I don't recommend going that way, Mouse says. Cops are all over the eastern wing. Shit, Gabriel curses. Alright, we'll have to loop around to the west wing and make our way down. He and Raquel start pushing the gurney to the other door. You and Mouse follow Gabriel and Raquel as they head to the hallway that connects the east wing to the western wing. However, just as you're about to enter the hall, you spot someone in it. A patient and a nurse helping him walk down the corridor with crutches. Gabriel looks at you and says, You and Mouse are the only ones in medical clothing, and Raquel can't talk. So, get rid of them. You and Mouse walk into the hallway as the patient, very, very slowly, makes his way down the hall in his crutches. You meet them far on the west side, and what do you do with them? Persuade them to go back down the west wing. Walk up to them and thinking. You walk up to them, trying to think of the best way to get rid of them. Excuse me, but you can't come this way. There's been a radiation leak in the eastern wing, you tell them. Oh, really? Again? The nurse says. Very well. Let's go back, Mr. Callahan. The nurse helps the man on the crutches turn around, and the two of them walk back down the hall toward the western wing. You quickly make your way back to Gabriel and Raquel and tell them the coast is clear. The four of you, along with Salazar's unconscious body on the gurney, heads down the empty hallway toward the western wing. Instead of going to the right to the main lobby, Gabriel and Raquel quickly push the gurney left toward the emergency stairwell. As you enter the stairwell, Gabriel looks to Mouse and says, Call Charlie and tell him to meet us at the western exit. Mouse nods and quickly calls Charlie as Gabriel and Raquel lift Salazar's unconscious body off the bed and carry him down to the basement, leaving the gurney behind. Gabriel carries his legs, while Raquel holds the shoulders up. You and Mouse take the lead, making sure the way is clear. But when you finally leave the stairwell and enter the basement parking garage, Charlie's nowhere to be found. But then you hear a ringtone. Kittens meowing in sync to the song, Drink Up by the Tut Tut Child. It's coming from Raquel's hoodie. Raquel lets go of Salzer's shoulder, prompting the top half of his body to fall down to the pavement as Gabriel continues to hold the legs. The back of Salzer's head slams into the ground. Raquel pulls out her phone and answers it, then gives it to Gabriel, who lets go of one of the Salzer's leg to take it. Gabriel speaking. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, don't worry about it. He hangs up and hands the phone back to Raquel, who pockets it before picking Salazar's unconscious body off the ground. Michael says we need to be careful with the body. Raquel nods in reply, picking Salazar's body up off the ground again. A few seconds later, you hear the sound of tires screeching across the asphalt as Charlie appears in a dark gray SUV. He comes to a stop in front of you, and Charlie quickly goes to the back of the SUV. And Gabriel quickly goes to the back of the SUV as Charlie hops out and rushes around to open the trunk and help Gabriel, and Raquel throw Salazar's body inside. You and Mouse hop into the back seat with Raquel as Gabriel gets into the passenger seat, and Charlie gets back into the driver's seat. Great to see you again, boss, Charlie says to Gabriel. Good to see you too. Now let's get back to Greg's shop, Gabriel says. Oh, man. Ah. Oh, God, sorry. Okay. Gregory's Glorious Goods. Evening. You soon arrive back at the church, and the crew helps Gabriel move Salazar's body down to one of the 3 interrogation chambers that Greg has. Mouse asks Tracy, Why does Gabriel have interrogation chambers? We've had a few people miss out on payments, and sometimes our clients need a place where they can store and interrogate someone discreetly. But also sometimes Greg just loves to torture his um competition. Tracy explains as your crew walks up to you, along with Michael. Gabe, welcome back, Michael says, opening his arms for a hug. I've only been gone for 2 days. Gabriel chuckles as he hugs Michael, patting his back. Besides, we still have a bank to rob and a mob boss to burn, he says as he lets go to shake Michael's hand. Well, we couldn't let you have all the fun, Michael chuckles. You're back. Hayden smiles in surprise. I honestly thought we'd lost you. She chuckles, then she looks at you and smiles. Nice job on getting him out, boss. Oh, shit, you don't look so good. Anna notices the fact that Gabriel's still wearing a cast around his arm and a brace around his leg. Rook walks over and clasps Gabriel's shoulder, sending him reeling forward as he groans in pain. Welcome back, Pennywise. I knew your army would protect you, Rook says. Well, it sure as hell didn't care about what condition I'd be in, Gabriel says with a groan. I think you need some rest. You look like I should be sending you get well soon cards along with flowers and balloons, Bishop says. Nah, he looks like we should be calling the orderly. One of the elderly's gotten loose again. Rook chuckles. I'll be fine. I still have my limbs. I'll be back in action in no time, Gabriel says with his iconic warm smile. Raquel walks back and slaps Gabriel right across the face loudly. Gabriel jolts to the side and almost falls over from the hit, either because the slap was so powerful, or he's so weak. Okay, maybe I should rest for a while. Yeah. Michael pulls out his phone and says, You'll need the rest. We got word that the Don wants to meet. He looks over to you and he called Kits, and we have reason to believe that he's in possession of Greg. Upon hearing the name, Tracy comes over and says, He's still alive? Where is he? We don't know. We don't know, but we know the Don wants to meet. They'll most likely use Greg as leverage, Gabriel says. If you can, please say Father Murdoch. He's like a father to me, and he's all I have left. I have no one else to look up to, Tracy begs. No need. I know where the Don wants to meet, Gabriel says. One of his hitmen visited me at the hospital, and he told me that the Don wants to meet at a warehouse down at the docks. An outfit hitman visited you? Michael asks. Yeah, he tried to kill me. Didn't end well for him, Gabriel smirks. Very well. You rest. I'll plan, Michael says. Gabriel immediately stops him. No, I'll plan. If I let you plan, we'll end up shooting some innocent dock worker just because you thought he was looking at you funny. He sighs. Go see what solves our nose. I'll get some rest. Gabriel walks into Greg's office while Michael heads for the interrogation room. You feel your body aching a bit. It's been a grueling week for you, and you think you finally deserve some rest. Would you like to do anything beforehand? Check in on Rook and Bishop. Walk over and find that Rook and Bishop are still together, playing chess, this time with bullet shells. What happened to the food? You ask. We ate it all, Rook says as he moves a large shotgun shell Rook up to meet Bishop's 9mm pawn. Bishop almost immediately responds by sending his 7.6 by 32 steel-cased bison Bishop up to flank Rook diagonally. Who's winning? You ask, not really sure which piece is which except for the fact that the king is probably the huge 50 caliber round. I am. Both Rook and Bishop answer simultaneously. Don't listen to him, he thinks he's winning, they both say in sync. Rook pulls something out from his pocket and wraps taco and gives it to you. Taco? You take it and unwrap it, feeling a little bit hungry yourself. You take a bite and watch Rook and Bishop play. It's a game of wits and strategy, but it looks like neither Bishop nor Rook are playing strategically at all. They seem to value the life of their pawn rather than keeping the king guarded. In fact, toward the end of the round, Bishop goes in to flank Rook's king, but doesn't call checkmate, even though he could very clearly take the king right then and there. You also notice that they're moving the pawns as if they're kings, being able to move one square in any direction. What kind of game are you two playing? You ask curiously. You see? Rook's smiling and he says, It's called the Pawn Protectors. The goal is not to checkmate your rival's king, but the defender must guard his pawns against attackers, whose goal it is to take out all of the enemy's pawns. If the attacker doesn't win within a certain amount of moves, the defender wins. And I'm defending and winning. Bishop smiles. Yeah, well, I have a few more moves before you can say that. Rook replies. I'd like to see you try. Bishop smirks. The fight goes on, and after a few moves, Bishop's left with only one pawn on the table, which Rook chases down until he only has two more moves left. Bishop taunts him, but Rook quickly comes back by trapping the pawn in a corner with his last remaining rook and two pawns. Rook knocks on the table and smiles. Checkmate, he says. Bishop sighs and pulls out his wallet, taking out a $20 bill and handing it to Rook. Rook takes it and pockets it with a smile before looking over at you. Would you like to play some? Bishop stands up from his chair and says, I'm having a shower. You two have fun. He leaves you with Rook. Rook gestures to the empty seat across from him. Would you like to play? Yeah, sure, let's play Pawn Protectors. You sit down in front of Rook as he rearranges the pieces. The two of you go over the rules and pieces, and since you're not using the real chess pieces, nor are you playing by the usual rules, Rook gives you a smile and a good luck before the two of you start. The two of you square off. It's a near equal match as you flank and block one another, but after a few moves, you realize he's been going easy on you. Look at him in sudden realization, and he smiles back at you and cranks up the difficulty, beating you handily with a handful of moves as he becomes increasingly unpredictable, using unorthodox tactics and surprising you with moves you've never seen before. You lose a few pawns in the process of figuring out what's going on. But two can play at that game. You begin to play along with his unpredictability, managing to counter his completely unorthodox attacks. But he's slowly gaining on you as he picks up the pace, causing you to hasten your moves in response. Soon enough, you realize you're losing. However, Bishop walks up behind you and looks over your shoulder. Hey, no cheating, Rook says. Oh, hey, no cheating, Rook says. Bishop continues to simply stare at the board. He watches his eyes dart from the shotgun shells to the pistol rounds, giving you the realization that Rook is planning to flank you with his rook. You quickly adjust your strategy, catching Rook off guard. The fight goes on, grueling, long, and difficult. But watching Bishop's eyes from time to time, you manage to beat Rook, cornering his last pawn with your own rook, supported by a bishop. You see Bishop smiling as Rook stands back in awe, not expecting to lose against you. He's at a loss for words as Bishop laughs and comes over to clasp your shoulders, shaking them proudly. He looks over to Rook and says, The newbie's baiting you. Rook looks at Bishop in surprise, mouth still open in awe as he says, Wow, okay. Next time I'm locking you in a room whenever I play with someone else. I don't know what you're talking about. Bishop shrugs. That was all kits, he says, squeezing your shoulder. I'll give him what he deserves. Bishop smiles. Rook, still in awe, pulls out his wallet, taking out $20 and handing it to you. You take it and smile back at Rook as he chuckles and says, Congrats! You've beaten me at my own game. Literally. You come away from the game with a few tricks up your sleeves and an even sharper mind. You thank him and leave as he wraps up the pieces and cleans up the ammo pieces. Check in on Gabriel. You go over to Greg's office and you walk outside. As you walk inside, you see Gabriel just as he puts on his balaclava. There are strips of bandages laid out on Greg's desk. Hey, Gabriel says as he pulls out his mask and puts it on, the iconic red smile now back on his face. How you doing? You ask. My whole body hurts and it feels like I'm about to fall over. But I'm alive, he says, smiling at you. You can tell he's hiding the fact that his body just wants to fall over and give up. No, I mean, how are you holding up? He stares at you in silence for a few seconds. My job's not done yet, so I'll hold myself up however long I have to, he says, and you're not sure whether he's smiling or frowning behind the mask. But the red smile gives you a cheerful impression despite his tone of voice. How do you do it? You ask curiously. How do you just how do you keep yourself standing when you clearly just want to give in? Easy. I don't want to. My body wants to, but I don't want to. But how do you overcome it? You ask. Well, no matter what my body wants, I if I want something to my very bones, my body will follow. And I don't want to let anyone down. I wouldn't want to let you or Raquel or Michael down. I wouldn't want to let the Archangels down. And so I stand. No matter what, I stand, he says with firm conviction in his voice. So, what do you want? You ask. I want to make sure people like Don Lavadenci aren't in power, or preferably dead. I never wanted to take over Chicago. Do you have any idea how hard managing a whole city of underground criminals is? I have nowhere near that much responsibility. He chuckles and he leans back and toys around with his pistol, twirling it and tossing it in the air playfully. Why do you want me, Don Lavadenci, dead? You ask. You tell me, he asks teasingly. Is it personal? Did he do something to you? No, not really. Is it business? Do you want all his money? No, I couldn't care less about money. So, what is it? Gabriel stares at you for a few seconds before answering. Why do I want to kill the most vile, disrespectful, arrogant, power-free, corrupt, and evil man in all of Chicago? Does it matter? He pauses for a few seconds, possibly for dramatic purposes, but also because he can't come up with an answer. The average civilian. It doesn't matter why I want him gone. It doesn't matter who I am, and it doesn't matter why I do what I do, Gabriel says, his eyes locking you in a determined stare. The world will be rid of one less hateful asshole, and it doesn't matter why. The world may want to thank me, but I don't need it. Because it doesn't matter who I am. Anyone with enough determination and training could have done the same, he says. His words echo through your mind as he continues, lost in his own words. Anyone who can be a Gabriel, even a man who's lost everything he ever cared about, because someone higher up decided that a sacrifice must be made. His voice trembles a bit. He stares you down, but not trying to intimidate you, but it makes you realize that his emotions are seeping through. That man was you? You ask nervously. He stares you down, not trying to intimidate you, but it makes you realize that his emotions are seeping through. His silence confirms the answer. He sits back in his chair and sighs. It's easy to be a Gabriel when you have little to care about anymore, but the well-being of those around you, he says. I have no vengeance that drives me, no fuel for revenge, no personal vendetta, nothing but the fact that Don Lavadenci's a wretched, greedy, corrupt, and evil person who the world's better off without. He smiles. I see. I see, you say. At least you think you understand. Though you're curious as to who Gabriel really is. Now, if there's nothing else, I'd like to get some rest. You nod and say, nothing else. Thank you. Have a good night. You walk back out. Have a good night, kids. Hear Gabriel say as you walk out. Check in on Michael. You go over to the interrogation room where Michael is, and you walk in. You see Michael writing down a few things in the observation room, where there's a one-way mirror that looks into the interrogation chamber where Salzar, still with the head in over his, still with the bag over his head, is tied to a chair. Michael finishes writing something on a notepad before looking over at you and saying, "Evening. How are you?" Pretty good. Quite excited." "Good to know," he says. "Knowing the limits of what your body can take is something Gabriel and I have learned is very important. Being an Archangel will take an incredible amount of toll on your body, especially when you're a Michael or Gabriel." "What is it that you do exactly?" You ask. This is the first time you've had a face-to-face with Michael without any interruptions. Might as well ask the question that's been aching in your mind for some time. "Officially, I lead the Archangels, but I leave that to Gabriel most of the time. I mostly do the work of managing the Archangel image and making sure that we don't stray too far from our objectives," Michael says. "What are the objectives of the Archangels?" you ask, never really thinking about it until now. "Depends on who you ask. Everyone's here for different reasons, and every person has different general goals. But the objectives of being an Archangel are simple. Do whatever you wish, and don't rat out your friends," he says. "Have there ever been people in Chicago before?" "Oh," you ask. "Oh, lots of them. Gabriel's sister's the founder of the Archangels, and she was the first person in Canada to establish an underground network of criminals working together to keep other criminals in check. And then there's the Beta Crew in New York, those who came right before you." "Where are they now?" "Well, Gabriel's sister is still in Canada, managing the underground network of Archangels and Associates, while the Beta Crew is currently on the assignment that we were given out a few days ago." "Have any of them reported back?" "Yes, Foldy's team has successfully captured 2 of the 3 people we need. No word from 21's crew yet," Michael says as you hear a groan coming from inside the interrogation chamber. You turn and see Salzar waking up. Michael turns to you and says, "Well, now I need you to go and get some rest for tomorrow. We have a lot to do in so little time." Michael sighs as he shows you the way out. You nod and walk back out as Michael closes the door behind you. Staying inside the interrogation room, which you hear painful screams and cursing coming from. Okay. Well, let us check in on the crew. Go over to the barracks and check in on your crew. You look and see that Charlie has already fallen asleep. You see Haynes still tending to her firearm, and Anna's pulling the blanket up over her little brother to cover him, as Charlie curls up into a ball on the bunk bed. With everyone busy doing their own thing, you decide not to bother them. Check in on Mouse. You look around and find Mouse sitting on a sofa by the fireplace at the far end of the shop. You remember that they use this fireplace to burn documents and sometimes body. Wonder if Mouse knows that. Turn around and see. He turns around and sees you walking over. "Kit," he smiles. Are you busy? There's something I need to ask you." His body trembles a bit as he looks around nervously. "Yeah, ask away." He pauses for a few seconds before continuing. "I don't know if you noticed, but Raquel wasn't wearing much of a mask back at the hospital," he says. You look around for a few seconds, making sure Raquel isn't in earshot, and after seeing her far away on the end of the room near Gabriel's office, you continue. "Yes?" "Well, I caught a glimpse of her face, and I think I know who she is," Mal says nervously in a whisper. "Are you sure? Who is it?" He looks around the room, and after finding Raquel, no Raquel within earshot. He continues, I don't know her full name, but she goes by the name Sylvia. She used to be a well-known vet turned criminal. Mouse says, she's a veteran? You ask. No, a veterinarian. Mouse says, she was a veteran before joining the Archangels? Oh no, this was many years ago. Way before the Archangels was even a thing. This was 6 years ago. The Archangels were only formed in Canada 2 years ago, Mouse says. I contacted my friends as soon as we got back from the hospital. They told me there's been sightings of her in Iraq, Afghanistan, Palestine, and even Ukraine since her disappearance. What would she be doing in all those places? You ask. My guess? Special forces, Mouse whispers. But even my friends in the Defense Department don't have any record of her ever being recruited. So who was she working for? I don't know. No one knows exactly, but I have a suspicion that whoever it is she was working for, Gabriel and Michael were working with her, or were at least somehow connected to whoever she's working for. It's an incredible piece of information, Mouse. Thanks for cluing me in. Thank you, Mouse smiles warmly. I I just thought you should know, he says before turning back around and looking at the fireplace again. He sighs and he sinks back into his seat, curling up into a ball. Then he picks up a blanket and covers himself with it as he slowly falls asleep on the sofa. There seems to be a lot on his mind, and you don't blame him. You too have had to push away the worries you may have about your own safety with the Archangels, but you wave away the thoughts. It's been so long since you've had time to rest. Seeing Edwin sinking onto the sofa with room to spare, due to his size, you can tell he's having trouble trying to rest. It's gonna be okay, Edwin. You walk up and put your hand on his shoulder. He whimpers a little before calming down. Thank you, he says and slowly closes his eyes, trying his best to sleep. Decide to leave him. Check in on Raquel. You walk over and see Raquel in her own room eating some MREs, meal ready to eat, through her ski mask. You feel hungry, so you grab an MRE pack and sit down across from Raquel. She scooches over to make space for you, so you get up and take a seat next to her, eating your own MRE pack as she munches on her beef ravioli. You look down at your meal and you see you've got yourself a nice cheese tortellini. You take a bite in, taste the not so cheesy cheese, the very soft tortellini melting in your mouth. Not the best texture or taste, but it's something. The two of you eat in silence for a few minutes before Raquel finishes her first, then proceeds to stare at you for a few seconds before letting out a faint and quiet meow. She leans down and rests her head on your lap, curling up into a ball, and pulling out her phone to browse the internet. You gently caress her shoulders as she nuzzles up in your lap. For a moment, you forget that you're in an underground black market shop that suffered through a heavy firefight. By the time you finish your meal, you look down and see that Raquel's fallen asleep on your lap. Perhaps you should let her be, or maybe you could join her. Feel pretty tired yourself. Sleep with her. You slowly put your meal away, wash it down with a beverage, and curl up with her in your arms. You wrap your arms around her, and you can feel her warmth slowly emanating as she purrs. She snuggles closer to you, and you pull her into a spoon. She turns around and gives you a quick kiss on the lips before... Sorry, I was just looking at something. Okay, before... She turns around and gives you a quick kiss on the lips before turning back and letting you spoon her. As you slowly fall asleep, she takes off her mask, letting her short, wavy blonde hair fall out, her face showing little to no emotion as she cuddles up to you. Hug her tightly and kiss her on the cheek as the two of you fall asleep for the night. As you fall asleep, you can tell she's sound asleep in your arms. But you, on the other hand, find yourself having to replay the events that have transpired so far. Everything went by so fast. The attack on the mill, Gabriel being captured, and then capturing the FBI agent that's been chasing you in return. You find yourself questioning the sanity of the main trio, and sometimes the morality of Gabriel himself. The mortality of Gabriel himself. He survived multiple attacks, shot through the chest multiple times, and has even died and come back. I wonder how long it takes before your fate as an Archangel comes to grip you and pull you under. Gabriel's words keep you awake, but at the same time, they calm you and help you sleep. You find yourself drifting away as exhaustion overtakes you. With Raquel in your arms, you snuggle up to her and cuddle her closer as she quietly purrs and nuzzles against you, holding you close, and you finally fall asleep. Alright, this is where we're going to be stopping, and next week, hopefully, if everything goes smoothly and I don't have to do much next week, then I think we should be on track to finish everything of the Breach Archangel's job next week. Man, we're there at the end. Episode 17 will be the end, I think. Hopefully. I think. Oh, God. Yeah. So, yeah. Alright, then. I suppose that's it. I hope you guys have a good day. Um, yeah, I know this one's. Yeah. We're almost there at the end, so yeah. Everything's good. Sorry. Uh, sorry. Okay, I hope you guys have a good and awesome rest of your day. We'll probably be finishing up Breach next week. Apologies if this week the streams are maybe not as long. I'm just trying to, like I said, finish up with some papers that I have due within the next 2 weeks. So apologies there. Hope you guys have a good and awesome rest of your day. Stay frosty, and I'll catch you on the other side of the day. Adios, amigos.